Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Business Resource Open House, which is the business of community. We have some amazing show schedule in store for you today. As we get started, I want to introduce you all to Jamison Lyman, who is, I don't know if he wants me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. He is the son of the legendary Jay Lyman of Seattle Public Libraries. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Jamison, and have your way.
Hello, I'm Jamison, and I've been I'm the son of Jay Lyman. I hear him laughing upstairs, and I will be playing music today. And there's no really history behind me doing music. I was always into making beats, not really looking into doing vocals until my friend brought his mic to school one day, and he told me to hop on a beat. And so I hopped on a beat, and then he was yelling at me to do music. So I started doing music, recording vocals, and then I've been just doing this for a month, and I gained 64 followers in just a month. And so, wow. I just enjoyed making beats at first, like R&B and like melodic type beats, stuff like that. I was always into that type of stuff. And there's nothing really much behind it. But in all the songs I did it on Discord. And it was all my friends would just spit out random words, and so I'll just say it in the song. And the three songs today I'm sharing are actually the first 3 songs I ever did and were posted online. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's no small feat. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. But yeah.
Are you ready for us to play?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
The program will begin in 3.5 minutes.
You get the energy when you're around me. You said you wanna ride me. We can go so far no one can see. Got me going crazy when you need me. And you got me thinking, is this real or am I dreaming? When you want something you demon. Am I running around with a demon? Late nights, we got so fun. Start off in the bands, I would be that number 1. Join the team cause they know what be done. Running around, still having fun. Yeah. Jump. We always look around, people think we wrong. I be on this beat, making all these songs. Haters love the hate, they be wrong. Be happy it's summer, telling us some fun. We're party till we can't. Gonna have one, then gonna act dumb. Feeling hella weird, then gonna fight one. You know that we're the right one. You get the energy when you're around me. You said you wanna ride me. We can go so far no one can see. Got me going crazy when you need me. And you got me thinking, is this real or am I dreaming? When you want something you're a demon. Am I running around with a demon? Late nights, we got some fun. Start off in
Hey, Cam.
Coming up next is King and Queen by Jamison.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I owe you a couple of items, I think.
You told me I had a dream that I was king and you were my queen. We had 1,000 things, had people coming up with for several dreams. We had a good thing from the start. Never thought that you would break my heart. Yeah. Let's get past it, let's just have some fun. Forget about the days that we're wrong. Right now, let's just write songs. Tomorrow, repeat, let's just have some fun. And I gotta say I'm feeling great. Nothing is better when you make no mistakes. Put the time in, it puts you in your place. Shining really, really bright, it brights my face. I've been sitting down and I'm writing down all these songs. I wish you were here just to keep me calm. People used to tell me that I was wrong. I switched up and them showed them wrong. When I was by myself, I was just wrong. In my head now, I'm dreaming that I just won. Everyone cheer me on, cause I just won. Now I'm in number one.
And closing out our morning here, our third song by Jamison Lyman, Wishes.
Hey, Carmen. I'ma sit back, kick back, play, give me two. I be in the car and I'll be shouting at the roof, wishing for a hero and a shooting star too. Gonna put that work in to see John Vigil bloom. I'ma sit back, kick back, play, give me two. I be in the car and I'll be shouting at the roof, wishing for a hero and a shooting star too. Gonna put that work in to see John Vigil bloom. We ain't the same, so better take that to vain. Looking at you.
Welcome to the Business Resource Open House. Let's welcome your MC, Jennifer Ness Frank.
In the morning that be running for the money, only looking for you.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamison. That's some good stuff. I am definitely going to be following you and downloading SoundCloud. Oh, I see the big puppy.
Thank
you. Well, thank you for that. At this time, we do have land acknowledgement. So I'm going to open it up for that. And then I'll come back and do a welcome and tell you about what we'll be covering today.
Inde Wilawalu, Sigadam Hananax Arayuta, Wildewayu, Jumhara Tepdegu, Aradu di Hoksku, Gitlan Diwat Natalu, Tianu, Metlakatla Diwat Watgu, in Bath New Gitosta, Titak Diwal Titogu, Legiget Lumkyop, Giptuash, Waiwa. It is important to understand that land acknowledgement is not a practice developed by colonial institutions. Rather, land acknowledgement is a traditional indigenous custom dating back generations. For indigenous communities, to provide land acknowledgement shows their respect and honoring of the indigenous peoples of the land on which we all live and work. Land acknowledgement is a simple way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and work towards honoring and inviting the truth. We acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral lands of the first people of this area, the Northwest Coast, the Coast Salish people, past, present, and future. We honor with gratitude on which we build and reside, and we honor the first peoples who have stewarded these lands and waters since time immemorial. We acknowledge their continued presence, contributions, and heritage, and we acknowledge that we as a community are caretakers of this land for all beings and all generations to come. Waiwa.
Thank you so much, Will Booth with Tribal T3. I didn't introduce you. So Tribal Technology Training, Tribal T3. Thank you for that land acknowledgement and also educating us on why it's important and why we do it. Because I know oftentimes folks are not knowledgeable or respectful of the land acknowledgement. So we appreciate you for doing that. The one thing that I really love about Business Resource Open House is the fact that we are constantly thinking about equity and how we can best bring these resources to everyone who is deserving. And so one of the ways that we do that is through interpretation, real-time interpretation. And so today we have two interpreters. So for our Spanish interpretation, I want to welcome our Spanish interpreter, and that is Iris. Iris, if you can definitely introduce yourself and the Spanish channel, we would be grateful to hear from you. I think you're on the Spanish channel right now. You have to come back to English.
Yes, Iris, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Iris. I was the same as you, Miko. You have to go down at the bottom where it says interpretation. Well, it's gone now, so no worries. You should be able to hear her now. But at the bottom where it says interpretation, you can go to the English channel. And for those of you that would like to hear this particular program in your native tongue of Spanish, you can go to the Spanish channel. And for those of you that like to hear it in Mandarin, you can go to the Mandarin channel. But let me also introduce our Mandarin interpreter. Welcome, Linda Lee. Please introduce yourself and your channel. Thank you so much, Linda and Idris. So again, if you would like to listen to this program in your native tongue, whether it be Spanish or Mandarin, go to the bottom of your screen where it says interpretation and choose that preferred channel. If you'd like to listen to my beautiful voice, then you stay here in the English channel, all right? One of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that anyone who wants to see this stream, whether they are on Zoom, whether they are on LinkedIn, YouTube, any social media platform, we're going to drop the link in the chat so that you can share on your social media platforms. It's very important because there are so many entrepreneurs out here that don't know the resources that are available to them. And that is really the purpose of the Business Resource Open House. So if you can, please, please, please share the stream. John is going to drop that into the chat right now. So you'll be able to share that on all of your different platforms, all right? So next, I want to introduce you to someone pretty fabulous and amazing, and that is Mari. Mari is here. She does an amazing job of translating into another language, and her language is visual. So Mari, please introduce yourself and let the folks know, and welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer Ness. It's so good to see you always, and so good to be with y'all. I'm gonna be listening to the conversations and different panels as we go, and creating a visual roadmap to share with y'all at the end to chart some of the main points of the conversation of how to support this ecosystem. So really honored to be here with y'all.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you all don't know, if you haven't known before, but her visual interpretation of everything that goes on, it just takes you right there. You're like, oh yeah, I remember when that's happened. Or even if you're not here and you don't know the trajectory of everything that happened, when you look at her visual interpretation, it puts you right back in this space. So I love that. And thank you so much, Mari, for doing just that. Now, we have the stream in the chat. Please make sure you join the stream. If you are anywhere outside of Zoom, please, please, please do us a favor and join us on Zoom, because there will be opportunities to go into breakout rooms later to do a further networking. And so you won't be able to do that if you're on LinkedIn or if you're on Facebook or on YouTube or any other platform. So join us in the Zoom. We invite you here, and we'd love to see you in the place. Next, before we get started with our program, I do want to introduce two amazing people. These amazing people have been putting on the Business Resource Open House for years now. Actually, it was in person, and now we're on Zoom, and we're thinking about what a virtual hybrid might look like. But basically, these amazing individuals are all about making sure that small business owners have access. And so I want to introduce you first to Angela, and then secondly, Jay will come on and also speak. Since 2020, yeah.
Yeah, right, since 2020. I can't believe it. But you know, the first 10 minutes of this today is hot as tops around the theme. What is the theme? Digital equity. What is equity in communication? And as humans, we are rooted in communication is huge. It's important. It's the thing that we do and struggle to do all our lives in one form or another, and multi forms. So the work that we've done to put this together is I think the purpose is not only to talk about these topics that small business owners face and getting resources and making connection, but it's also just to put this format together so that the digital, because here we are in the virtual world, right? We've got to make it work somehow. What does that look like? And pushing the boundaries and pushing forward, pushing the envelope, as they say, to make this kind of thing happen. We can't reach everyone all the time, but this is an effort to bring us together. Jay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Jennifer. And yeah, I agree. This is about making connections and facilitating a place where we can come together and meet each other. There's Jamison coming into the background here. So excited to be here. I'm going to share more because I'm going to have some time in the panel. So I'm going to back up and so I don't share all that stuff right now. I got to save some for later.
Well, thank you so much, Jay and Angela. Lastly, I want to introduce to you all John. John is the reason why we're able to do this in such an excellent way. He is our producer. He's our producer, and he has been working with Business Resource Open House to make sure that we can provide such an equitable platform. So I want to introduce you to John Chen.
Thank you so much, Jenna Finesse. So great to see you here online as usual over the past 2 years. You know, digital equity is this. While you see this in my frame, what's amazing about this is now more accessible than ever. Everything you see here, while it looks complicated, is off the shelf. All of you could learn how to buy that. And over the years, this Business Resource Open House has done amazing things, such as provide this program in up to 8 languages, sometimes with a live interpreter, sometimes with sign language. This is one of the most equitable and accessible virtual meetings that I have ever attended as well as produced. So sit back, enjoy, and I hope that some of you, even if you don't speak Mandarin and Spanish, switch over to those channels and you will experience what the UN feels right here in Seattle. Back to you, Jennifer.
I like that. Thank you so much. So now that we are live in this platform, we're going to get to our panel. But before we get to our panel, I want to see who's in the Zoom. So where are you all calling in from? Where are you all from right now? I can say I am in Roy, Washington. So please use the chat. Let us know where you are. Let us know where you're calling in from so that we can understand where folks are calling in from. Right now, when I look out my window, I see rain. I took a walk earlier and thank goodness it held out until I could get finished with my walk. But I love the rain. But anyways, I'm here in Roy, Washington. Oh my goodness. I see Seattle. I see Shoreline. I see South Seattle, Fairfax, Virginia. Welcome. Okay. You go all the way across, all the way over there somewhere. Thank you for being here. All right. We have the Seattle South End. We have Renton. Let's see, Burien, Auburn, some more folks from Seattle, Beacon Hill, and yes to the rain, right? Columbia City, Silver Spring, Maryland. Okay, we are drawing folks, okay? Snohomish, Fort Lauderdale. Okay, Tierra, you never know where Tierra gonna be. Tierra be all over the place. That's what I love about her. And then we also have folks in here from Renton. So just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that there are so many folks all around the Zoom, calling in from all different places. And we want to make sure that you are getting what you came here to get today, all right? So again, as Angela and Jay and John said, this is about digital equity. And today we're talking about digital equity in communications, marketing, and promotions. And so most of our panelists are going to be talking about best practices for reaching customers experiencing digital equity. And then they're also going to talk about some assistance for business owners that are facing barriers to access and learning opportunities. So I want to introduce you to some of our panelists. So just so you know how the flow of today, so the flow of today, we have two panels. So the very first panel is going to start right now, and then we're going to have a really short break. And then we'll go to the second panel that's going to start about 9:40, and then we'll go all the way to 10 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, what we're going to do is we're going to cut the live stream. So for those of you that are not here in the Zoom, that will be the end of today for you. For those of you that are in the Zoom, we're going to open up some breakout rooms so that we can get further and deeper connections with the folks who are here. So if you're not in the Zoom, we invite you again to come to the Zoom. All right. So now let's get our panel started. We have some amazing, amazing panelists. So the first panelist we have is Jawan Harris. Jawan is with King's Dream Consulting. Jawan, let me give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to these amazing folks.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Jawan Harris, King's Dream Business Consulting out of Seattle, Washington. Most of my job is marketing and marketing for different people across the country and getting to the roots of their messaging and then tailoring it to their audience. So happy to be here and looking forward to getting started.
Thank you so much for being here, Jawan. Always great to work with you. Looking forward to our event next week as well. Next, we have David Shion, who's with the Community Carrot. David, please come on and introduce yourself.
Oh, good morning, everyone, and thank you for including me. I'm the co-founder of a nonprofit called Community Carrot that advances social justice and racial equity by teaching young adult entrepreneurs who come from low-income backgrounds how to start businesses of their own. We're funded in Seattle by very generous donors and by some companies that are local, Molly Moons, Pagliacci's, Macrina, Home Street Bank. All of them share in common that they want to see a next generation of entrepreneurs that more reflect all of the city of Seattle. And I'm just very proud to be here and to help. And we're about to start our next class. So we're looking to recruit some new students. It's a free program and I'd love to tell you more about it.
Oh, thank you. I have not heard of Community Carrot, so thank you for being here. And next we have Angela, who you all met a few moments ago. Most of you probably already know, but Angela, please come on and introduce yourself.
Hi there. I'm really just here to talk about some of the upcoming programming that we have. And I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thank you for being here. Now, listen, to those folks that are in the Zoom, I have a question for you. Before you start asking the panel questions, I have a question for you. The first question I have for you is, how many of you have heard of King's Dream Consulting? How many of you have heard of Community Carrot? So if you've heard of them, just put it in the chat. Knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable, put that in the chat, because I want to understand where we should go with this conversation in such a short period of time. All right, Lisa. Hey, Lisa. All right. So while you all are answering that question, we will get right to our panel. All right. So Jawan and David, some of the questions I have for you about best practices for reaching customers experiencing digital equity. So what are some of the best practices, and what makes it possible for them to close the gap from that digital inequity, right? Are there anything that you would highly recommend? That's where I'll start.
Oh, okay, I'm unmuted. I'll go first. The first thing that comes to mind is, and this is a challenge even for well-established businesses, is constantly putting yourself back into the mindset and the framework of your customers and your audience, going through your own processes, buying from yourself or booking yourself, and just seeing what that journey is like and what their experience is like, and then just constantly reminding yourself of what they could be going through, because your business is familiar to you, but it's new to them. And especially if you're serving an underserved community, there's already going to be some hesitation and apprehension just beyond trust because of systemic reasons that you can't control. The best way to mitigate that is to put yourself in their shoes. So empathy and communication.
I love that. So you said to put yourself in their shoes and understand that there's going to be trust issues, but display empathy. I appreciate that. David, do you have anything to add to that?
Man, I love Joanne's answer. And the only piece I could think to expand on that, we spend a lot of time really understanding customers, and people can use thinking through different customer, a pivot in customers as a way to differentiate from competitors. For example, a dress shop might typically think, probably 99% of dress shops think that they should market to women. They buy the dresses. Well, guess what? When there's a male friend involved, a partner or a husband or something like that, they're completely, I'll speak for myself, completely baffled when it comes to buying a dress for a woman. So if a shop were to think of their customer instead for a moment about what it would be like to support men through that journey and help them to purchase in time for their anniversary, for example, they may discover a whole new customer base. If you apply that to what Joanne said, and through that lens, the world looks very, very different once again. And so spend your time, take your time really thinking through who would make that awesome customer.
I love
and then
that.
how to reach them. Yeah.
I love that concept of differentiating yourself from your competitors, because there are so many folks that are doing the same thing. I saw something in, it was just a quote the other day about all the bread that are on the shelves. Like it's all bread, right? But we all have preference and we all see bread differently, even though it's seven shelves of bread and it's all bread. But some of them are differentiating themselves from others. So thank you for that, David. So my next question is around, and I see that there are not any questions in the chat, so I'm gonna keep asking mine, but this is really for you all. So if you have questions, you have experts here. You have experts in Jawan and David here. So if you have questions, it's the best time for you to ask it. David, can you tell us a little bit about your Community Carrot program? I know you said that you're accepting applications, so tell us a little bit about what the cohort looks like, if it's a cohort style. Tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. We're about to start our 5th cohort, which will put us over, well, right now we're at 50 graduates of the program. All of them are between 18 and 24 and live in the King County area. They come from low income backgrounds and they're innately entrepreneurial. It's been said that anybody can start a business with enough direction and guidance, but we view that we have 16 weeks to get started with folks, and some people just tend to be more entrepreneurial than others. Those people do not, they are as randomized across society as could be. Old, young, black, white, green, it doesn't matter. And all 4 of my grandparents, for instance, were entrepreneurial, and that helped me to be entrepreneurial. If other people are like that, they're going to be good candidates for our program. After we test them for that, we make sure that they are a good fit to work in groups. We have a 16-week program that meets weekly as a class, and then an instructor meets one-on-one with them to fine-tune a business idea with them. We provide laptops, we provide mobile hotspots, we provide $1,500 in startup capital for that business. We help them to create a 1-page business plan. We partner them with mentors. We get them confident in public speaking by having the world's friendliest pitch competition. And where everyone wins just by participating. And and then we help them to launch their business. And then we have a business coach who is available solely for the graduates of our program to help them stay with their idea, which is going to be a side hustle because they're starting a micro business. We encourage them and help them to stay employed, earning a paycheck, because nobody gets rich quick. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And we try to be very honest and help our participants really get, I would say, if we hear any one thing from them, it's that they realize that they have a life mission now. They came into our program very, very confused because they didn't want to flip burgers for a living. And now they know that there is a path forward for them to be a CEO and run their own business. And a hat tip to Lisa Smith and the Washington State Microenterprise Association, who's one of our generous donors. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Jawan, I know that you're a small business owner, right? And you have an amazing team that you work with. And so what are some of the advice that you give to small business owners that are dealing with digital equity when it comes to marketing? Like, can you give them like some steps, like some crucial steps? Like, here's some things you should do. Here's some things you should avoid. What's some of that advice?
Yeah. If we're talking from an equity standpoint, definitely find your niche and build community. Because if you're competing for equity, you're competing for space in the realm of marketing and communications with people that are much larger, that have established networks, established audiences. You're going to save a lot of money and a lot of time by finding your niche, because you don't appeal to everyone. That bread aisle metaphor, I'm going to be sticking with that, but that is very true. Your bread and your brand and how you're set up on the shelf is only going to appeal to so many people, and you're taking up such a small space, especially if you're operating from a community of color. So you're going to have to find your community and just serve them, and then expansion looks like serving them even more. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would recommend if you're fighting for equity, because you're going up against people that have budgets that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times yours. So you're not going to beat them on advertising. You can beat them on messaging. You can beat them on authenticity. If you're speaking to people that are familiar to you, and you're using words and visuals that they resonate with, and you're making them the main character in this story that you're telling, which is what communication is. That's how you're going to find your niche.
I love that. Thank you so much. I know sometimes when I'm teaching on finding your niche, and I always tell people your riches are in your niches. If you have a niche, you can really penetrate. Yes, you can really penetrate and get to the point where you're really serving these folks so well that you're making the amount of revenues that you really desire. So don't forget that your riches are in your niches. There is a great question. People are oftentimes feel like, well, isn't finding a niche kind of discriminatory? Isn't it going to leave folks out? Isn't it going to make people feel excluded? Or isn't that the opposite of having an equitable offering? And I always say, no, it just helps you to stay focused on what it is you're doing for the people that are most likely to purchase from you. And so there is a question in the chat that kind of asks a similar question. It says, any advice on how to ensure your marketing is not taken out of context or potentially offensive to various communities, maybe the folks that may not be here? So Jawan and David, can y'all speak to that?
I'll jump in. I think of a couple of things. I mean, not directly to the issue of being offensive, although I certainly would encourage everyone to test their message on as many folks, not folks who love you so much that they're going to tell you what you want to hear, but folks who love you so much that they actually are going to be straight up with you about, right. Or quite frankly, strangers, go hang out at Pike Place Market, or at some, location where the demographic you want to serve is located. I just made that one up, but it could be anywhere. And just ask people. You got to get out of your bubble and out of your shell a little bit. But one thing I want to say about that, in general, Derek Anderson from our board is the CEO and founder of Final Touch Detail, one of the top detail car washes in the city. He decided, he grew up poor, low income, Black in Seattle, and he decided to locate his business on Madison Street, right next to the Broadmoor, the golf course. He now washes, you know, Lamborghinis and Teslas and Mercedes, and that's what he does. That's his niche. And it's part of his niche because that's where the money is. And that's what he decided to follow. And he's done very well, okay? When you define that niche, whatever it is, I love that expression, Jennifer Ness. Your riches is in your niches. And it is what I was saying also about selling dresses to men. It doesn't have to necessarily be about serving a particular community. That's the way we think. That's the way we're wired. There are communities in need, no doubt about it. But what you want to do, to me, when you come across that, the context is really figuring out a distinct niche that hasn't been served. And that's where you're going to make your money. That's where it's at. Yeah.
Thank you. Juwan, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of to add is in your messaging, first off, if you have to ask yourself if this is potentially offensive, it probably is. That's erring on the side of caution. And that is, I've watched many large corporations make that mistake just by not having the right voices in the room. The other one, other than just actively listening, is asking yourself if your messaging is it inclusive or is it exclusive? Is this divisive? Is this going to bring people together? If it's something that's divisive or a topic that's divisive, it depends on your platform, whether or not you're going to be offensive. But that's a hard one. That's a battle that a lot of people are trying to figure out what to say and what not to say. There's nothing wrong with just asking people from those communities as almost as ambassadors. Is this offensive? Most people will tell you, and you can save yourself a lot of money on getting out things on the internet that you can't take back. So it's worth it to do the research before you put things out, especially before you put money and your reputation on the line, just ask questions.
Thank you for that, Juwan and David. One thing I will add to that is this. When we started Black-owned Business Excellence, we got a lot of people, not a lot, I'm not gonna say a lot because that would be a lie. We got a few people who were offended that we were focusing on Black owned. They were like, oh, isn't this reverse racism? Why isn't there anything about this race or that race? And I'm like, well, first of all, the target is Black owned because they are most deserving and historically left out. But that does not mean that we don't serve other businesses or want other businesses to be involved. So I think that messaging needs to be clear because you can offend folks, period. You know, some folks will be offended or just looking, you got trolls that have a full-time job at being trolls. So some things you can't avoid. But I do respect and agree with what Juwan said. If it's potentially offensive, it probably is. But also, some folks are going to be offended no matter what you do. So be mindful of the folks you're actually trying to reach and the folks who you want to reach in addition to. So there you go. Yes, so thank you for that, both David and Juwan. Thank you for that. One of the other questions that I have for David is what resources exist out there to help young adults? Outside of or in addition to, I know that because you're doing Community Carrot, I'm sure you're running into other resources that you can pair that are complementary to what you all provide. What are those?
Well, I have to start with Present Company and Jay Lyman and the Public Library because they're absolutely unbelievable. I've lived in several different cities, big cities, Boston, Philadelphia, DC, and now Seattle. And there is nothing that even comes close to touching what the Seattle Public Library offers with its business support desk. You come in, you might not even fully understand the question you want to ask, and they will sit and listen and help you get to the bottom of what you need. and it is absolutely free of charge. So no questions asked. That is a great place to start. But one thing that I think is very interesting, there's been some studies that look at Black entrepreneurs compared to white entrepreneurs. And one is that privilege, let's just put it that way, also means social capital in ways that is not afforded within the Black community at the level that it is at the white community. And so for me, you know, my grandparents owned businesses and they were my mentors. I could go to them and ask them questions. And let me tell you, as a young person, it made a huge difference. I'm now in the 23rd year of my own business because of my grandmother. And unfortunately, people who come from lower income or from minority groups are 1/10 as likely to know someone who started their own business. It's just an astounding fact. But here's the deal. People will open up to you and help if you ask. Business owners like to help entrepreneurial-minded people. If you walk into a store and say, hey, I've been thinking about doing X and I could see where it might help your store. Could you help me? Could we set up a meeting and talk about it? We're in an age, in a society where we're used to doing everything on our phones or on the computer. Move your feet, open your mouth, talk to people. You'd be surprised how willing people are to help you. And another resource is SCORE, SCORE. They will provide mentors for you free of charge, connecting you to mentors who are experienced in your line of work, so and in your area of interest. So those are a few good resources that don't cost a nickel.
I agree with you, David. Some others that you did not mention was the Veteran Business Operations Center. I don't know, I'm echoing. I don't know where that's coming from. But there's the Veterans Business Operations Center. There's the Women's Business Center. There's also the Small Business Development Center. All of these are programs that are funded, that cost you, that are no cost to the entrepreneur, that can help you grow from A to B. There's also Scale Up through Thurston County EDC. There's all kinds of resources out here for entrepreneurs to use and to utilize and get connected to grow their businesses that are no additional cost to them. So I will, I know Angela, you wanted to talk about the Digital Navigator. So this might be a great time for you to also mention that. I think you might be on a different channel, Angela. You was listening to Spanish, wasn't you?
Make sure and come to the English channel. Hola, Angela. She is fluent in Espanol.
Yep, we can't hear you yet. Nope. I think you need to hit English channel. Oh, you did? I don't know.
You can try the original channel too. All right, Jennifer Ness, we'll have to come back to her.
Okay.
I also saw that Lisa might have a question. Lisa?
Hey, Lisa, girlfriend.
Hey, is it okay to share a question?
Of course, because you
Okay.
always do. No,
Okay,
go
well,
ahead.
thank you for letting me do this. So first of all, thank you for putting this on. This is an excellent program, because what I know is that I feel often crippled by having to produce metrics for our funder. Number of jobs created, number of businesses started, revenue, businesses getting loans. And although that data are important, it's critical. Like, those are actual ways of knowing progress. And it's confining and debilitating if that's the only way that we see value. And so what I'm exploring, and have been for the last 6 months, is really understanding ways of telling a story, ways of understanding value and impact beyond the metric, so that we move how funders expect progress. We move the needle on how funds are distributed. We change the context for what it means to be successful. because all those things they are evidence of success, but people of color are left out of that conversation, or those metrics are often influencing policy that benefits the privileged white class. And I just want to figure out another way to do that. And you folks are you're experts in that, and I want to learn. Okay. I hope you understood the question.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lisa. I think we just had this conversation in another forum. And one of the things that, some of the advice that I gave is there's always going to be money that's attached to the quantitative results that you can get. And the disconnect there is when your funders are not attached to the work that you're doing. So once you start inviting them to come and show up at some of the programming, and they actually hear from the folks who are there, not just at the end when you have a culmination, but during the programming, where they get to meet a business owner like that detailing shop that David talked about, where they get to go and get their car detailed and see, no, he's not getting a loan because he don't need a loan, right? But here's what he determines success to be. And because this is his determination of success, this is how we're going to measure if we're being successful providers to him. So I think that's where the disconnect is. And that's something that I've been advising clients of, making sure that they are including those funders in some of the programmatic work and the decisions that they are making that they may not be aware of, right? And so because they're not aware of it, they want to keep going back to the dollars and cents when it's so much more than just dollars and cents. So
Right.
That is some of the advice that I would give. That's some of the advice that I give clients all the time. Just make sure that they are absolutely attentive to the work that's being done so they can see, guess what? We can measure value differently. We can measure quality different. We can actually look at the qualitative results that our clients are getting outside of what the quantitative results are. So I think that's some good advice, but it's always good for you to continue to put that on their minds and bring that to the forefront in the discussions that you're making. So thank you for your question, Lisa. I want to say thank you to our panelists, Jawan, David, and Angela. So please, 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 type in the chat, thank you to these amazing panelists. I know, Angela, I asked you a question. Can you talk now?
Maybe, can you hear me?
Oh, good. Yes, we can hear you. So definitely go right ahead.
So listen, I really just wanted to put, like I put in chat, information about upcoming free trainings and workshops where we are going to be rolling out over the next months and hopefully building those up. A lot of groups here, a lot of people here are doing this kind of thing and trying to get trainings out there. One of them that we're doing is a digital navigator training, which is, it's really about, so we digital navigation, what is that? We've been doing this for forever. We've been working with people to build their literacy around the virtual, to get into the virtual space, and more than ever now, it's critical. So in every way, we all have to be at the table to do this. And so we're doing a train the trainer digital navigator session for free virtually, and then also we're going to try to do that in person. I'm working with Will Booth, who's here with us today, T3 Tribal Technology. They do a train the training that is amazing and open for others, really focusing on, and Will can talk about that at some point, maybe in breakout. You can learn more about what they're doing. I really attended those sessions and realized that without going for it as identifying as a digital navigator, and for people who are hiring, they need to hire somebody who's a digital navigator. And what does that really mean? Everything we're talking about here, it's equitable communications, and we're also going to do financial and literacy literacy trainings. So just stay tuned. I put it in chat. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much, Jawan. Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you. As we are transitioning into our second panel, I do want to encourage you all to come into the Zoom if you have not already done so. Also, I just want to ask, what resonated with you the most in that particular panel? So please use the chat. Let us know what your takeaways are from that panel. There was a lot of good information that was shared, a lot of good nuggets, some stuff that was hashtagable. So what is it that you took note of? And please type that in the chat. While you're doing that, I'm just giving us an opportunity to transition. But while you're doing that, I do want to say that we have an opportunity for you to hear more from Jawan Harris next week. We have a Stimulate Your Marketing Strategy. This is a hybrid event that's going to take place in person at Tabor 100. And there's a virtual Zoom link that you can also use if you don't want to be in person or if you can't be in person. So if you're able to be in person, we're going to provide an amazing lunch. Our sponsors are amazing in that way. And we just love to be able to be in person and learn more from Jawan, because honestly, he's going to break down what it looks like, to stimulate your marketing strategy for the last quarter of this year. So that opportunity is there, and I just dropped the link in the chat. Okay. So some of the things that you all heard, yes, y'all better hashtag that. Your riches are in your niches. I've been saying that for about 10 years now. So your riches are in your niches. It's very important to have a niche target customer profile, so that you're not wasting time and resources trying to reach everybody, and also so that they see themselves in your marketing. It's important for me to see someone that looks like me in order for me to feel like you want to serve me. Quick tidbit. I was flying home a couple Sundays ago on American Airlines, and on their pamphlet for their in-flight entertainment was a Black lady's hand looking at something. To me, that spoke volumes. Representation is everything. I heard David say that about generations and seeing those generations doing things before you, and how that just does something to you subconsciously. But when I saw that Black lady's hand, it was a Black lady, she had a wedding ring on and she was holding on. I was like, oh, I love that. That spoke to me. So of course I took a picture and I shared it on LinkedIn, because things like that shows that American Airlines sees me, a Black woman, right? So anyways, this is always great to see yourselves in marketing, but please come and share with us as we stimulate your marketing strategy next week. So we are transitioning to our next panel. That is panel number 2. We have some amazing guests for this particular panel as well. So we're bringing up Mr. Jay Lyman, who you met earlier from Seattle Public Library. I'm going to give him an opportunity to introduce himself. Also, Andrew Powers of Black Fox Studios, and Neil Subsash with Small Business Administration. So he's going to talk to you more about some of those organizations that we mentioned a few minutes ago. So first, I'll turn it to Jay. Jay, would you like to introduce yourself one more time, and in the context of Seattle Public Library?
Sure. Thank you, Jennifer Ness. I'm Jay Lyman. I'm a librarian with Seattle Public Library. In my work, I support entrepreneurs and nonprofits as they launch and grow, and we do that in a lot of different ways, including some of the things we'll talk about here today.
Thank you, Jay. And next we have Andrew Powers with Black Fox Studios. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here. My name's Andrew Powers. Hopefully you all can hear me. But I run Black Fox Studios, and it is a business technical consultant company that helps out small businesses and nonprofits here in Seattle. And it's very exciting to be here because I've used a lot of the resources we were talking about, SBA. I know Jay, and I've heard a lot about David and Community Carrot. So this is very exciting, and I'm just here to have a discussion.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And lastly, we have Neil with the Small Business Administration.
Thank you, Jennifer Ness. And thank you for including me in the SBA in this wonderful program. This is really exciting already. As you mentioned, I do work for the Small Business Administration, the SBA. I work in the Seattle District Office, which really serves almost the entire state of Washington, as well as parts of northern Idaho. And just a quick summary, the SBA is a federal agency, and we have the mission of supporting all small businesses, whether they're in a startup phase or in a growing phase, or even in a recovery phase, such as an economic disaster situation. We do that through a number of programs. Well, I'll talk about some of those coming up, and also through a number of partnerships that I'll talk about coming up. I myself work as an outreach and marketing specialist in our Seattle office. I work with a lot of the folks in this room today and other partners in our communities to deliver our programs and our information to, in particular, our underserved communities. We want to make sure everyone that needs to know and will take advantage of SBA programs has access to information. So for those reasons and others, I'm really happy to be here today.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. Since you were the last one, I'm going to go to you first.
Sure.
How does the SBA support digital equity? Like, what are some of the programs or your intentional efforts at supporting digital equity?
Sure. Well, again, this SBA is kind of like a big ship. It's hard to talk about in a quick overview. A lot of our programs are all found online. All of our information is found online. This is in over 100 different languages. You can easily translate our website to, I think, 110 or more languages. We've also more recently partnered with Business Forward, a national nonprofit, and in collaboration with a number of private corporations, people like Microsoft and Amazon and Venmo and PayPal, to deliver a whole new website platform called the SBA Digital Alliance, which is really a learning platform. So this is all free. You can go to the website. I'll post a link to this online. But this is a really great resource full of tools, workshops, presentations, just to learn more about different really business tips and techniques, things like starting a website, reaching your customers, targeted advertising, designing a logo. It really is growing every day. There's more workshops, more tools put on there. So it's a great tool to tap into. But of course, our existing and long-lasting relationships with both SCORE, Sbdc, which were mentioned earlier, as well as the Veterans Center and Women's Business Centers, all of these resource partners of ours, which I'd love to talk about more, also offer almost on a weekly basis workshops on just these same topics, using QuickBooks, building a website, reaching your customers through targeted online advertising. So there's really a number of things. The best thing to do is to always feel free to get in touch with us at our local office, and we can steer you in the right direction.
Well, thank you for that, Neil. I have a question. We're going to pause for the calls. So one of the things that I want to make sure of, because I know I talk fast and we have a lot of folks talking. So I want to check in with our interpreters. So Linda and Iris, how are we doing? Should we slow down? Let us know, because we want to make sure that we are actually being equitable and not just saying it, right? So how are we doing? If you can give a thumbs up in the chat or let us know how we're doing, that would be great. And I'll just pause to kind of hear back from you all. Yeah. Okay.
Like technical information, you mean, Edie?
Oh, okay.
We run through partners lists really fast.
Okay.
And then we give a lot of acronyms. This is the thing that, you know, when we're talking about accessibility, and it's also somebody who has limited sight would benefit from us describing the scene. And that's something that I fail to do often, but it's really close. It's really close to something that is happening for me in my mind. Now I just have to do it. So how do we maneuver ourselves toward activating all of these different behaviors?
We will do a better job starting now. So for those of you that are differently abled, I am showing up as a beautiful, amazing Black woman on this screen. And also for those of you that are differently able, I do want to say that Jay is showing up as a bald white man on this screen with glasses, and that Andrew Powers is showing up as an amazing Black man with locks that are long and sitting on his shoulders. And then we have Neil that is showing up as a light-skinned man. I don't know, Neil, how do you identify? Because I could just tell you what I see. What's your identification?
Yeah, I mean, for these purposes, I would say maybe I have a tan complexion. I'm an Indian American mixed heritage, so I have a tan complexion, and I'm wearing a gray shirt.
Okay.
And I'm sitting with a digital backdrop with a repeating SBA logo on a blue screen right behind me.
Thank you so much. And I'm sitting in this really comfortable egg chair in my bedroom. So if you can't see it, I'm sorry, but it's real comfortable. And I also have a nice comfy blanket right here. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure that we are doing a great job of making sure that we're truly being equitable and not just, being performative. All right. So if you need anything, please stop us at any time, because that's what we're here for. All right. So Neil said some amazing things about equity. And I definitely thought and know that you all are doing an amazing job at the SBA. I've worked with you for several years in different capacities. I want to ask you, Andrew, what are some digital inequities that are oftentimes overlooked? We're looking at things like visual and languages and things like that. So what are some that you may feel that are oftentimes overlooked that we don't necessarily pay attention to?
Well, thank you for that introduction. Thank you for that question. I actually think this is a perfect segue because I'm a very visual person myself. And the one equity that comes to mind when we're talking about visual representation, visual description is communication styles. And it's not just languages, it's how we communicate best. And because I graduated with a graphic design degree, I'm an artist, and I have at least 10 whiteboards in my home/office. And you can even see me moving my hands around right now, very, very animated. So that's one of the digital inequities that happens a lot when talking to clients and helping them out, is trying to figure out how someone communicates and how that can be presented digitally. Because when we're talking about using these computers and digital tools, that's what they are. They're tools. And it's really to amplify the way that you communicate, the way that you share, and the way that you want to promote. So for me, being a whiteboarder, someone who goes to the whiteboard and just writes everything down, well, if I'm trying to go to a meeting and go to a Starbucks event and try to bring in a 10 by 10 whiteboard, that's not happening. It doesn't even fit in my truck. So finding those tools, like, for example, someone like me, there's a program called Miro. And it's a virtual whiteboarding app that allows individuals to jump on their computer, use their mouse to make little marks on this huge whiteboard, and they can actually do it collaboratively. In fact, this app called Miro actually integrates with Zoom. So on multiple Zoom meetings, you can have a breakout, have all the people on the Zoom making their little marks, just like if you were in a class or a virtual class. They do this a lot. It would allow them to communicate in a visual way. And that's one of the ways, or one of the aspects of communication styles that I think is very important.
I love that. Thank you, Andrew. I'm one of those people that love to get new tools in my toolkit every day. So I appreciate a new tool for my toolkit. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Jay. Jay has just been an amazing resource for a long time for me. Jay, I have a question for you. What kind of information do people need to help them start to improve their marketing? Since our whole focus is around digital equity in your communications, marketing, and promotions. What type of things are needed, and what type of resources do you have at the Seattle Public Library?
Yeah, good question, Jennifer. In my work as a librarian, we help people who are doing market research, which is really kind of at the core of what you're talking about. It's like, how do I support with data the idea of like who my customer is. What is that niche? Where can I find that where do those customers hang out, and like how do they prefer to be found? Like what are some of those ways that I can find them and talk to them, and really talk to them in a way that's not just advertising, like I think Joanne mentioned earlier, but talk to them in a way that like resonates and is something that's important to them and to that works. Couple of tools that the library, so it gets really specific based on what you're planning to offer to those customers, and also like what the what's already out there, and what kinds of things people are wanting and needing in those whatever the context is. So library offers tools that can help businesses to figure that part of it out, and some of those might be things around demographics or lifestyle information, to help people kind of figure out what, like within a particular geography, how many people who live their lives this way live there. So lots of different tools that we offer.
Hey, we have a spammer here.
We got some background here.
No, that was worse than background.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay. You got him out.
All right. I think that was John.
John, thank you.
So I could go on and on about tools, but we have lots of different tools, and it gets really specific. So make time with one of myself or one of my colleagues, and we'll share exactly the tools you need that the library offers.
Yes, thank you so much, Jay. Thank you, John, for being the po-po to get them folks out of here that's trying to spoof us. So I appreciate that. I was looking like, come on, get it off. I don't know. So thank you so much. We will not be moved by the enemy that tries to come in, all right? So Neil, we talked a little bit about some of those programs, and we use the acronyms, which we don't want to use moving forward, right? But can you talk about some of the programs and the resources that is offered through SBA for small businesses, or for businesses? Let's just say businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate this question recircling, because I probably was one of those folks that rattled off a handful of acronyms without explaining what they were. Among them is SBA, the Small Business Administration, and they all kind of blend together sometimes. In the context of resource partners and counseling and business advice, SBA partners with a number of other agencies and programs. And what I said earlier was SCORE, and this was mentioned in the previous panel. SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Entrepreneurs, or Executives rather, SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide network of free, these are volunteer mentors that offer free services and one-on-one business coaching, and some low-cost or no-cost workshops and trainings, which are almost all available online these days, which is really wonderful, and some in person, depending on location. So do definitely tap into SCORE, in particular if you are interested in starting a business and you want to write a business plan, or you don't really have a grasp on financial projections. They offer not only guidance, but templates for all of these things. So they can really get you started in a good way. The next one to mention would be the Sbdc, which is the Small Business Development Center. Also a nationwide organization in Washington. We call it the WSBDC for Washington. And again, free one-on-one counseling, business advice, an excellent resource. These are very skilled and knowledgeable advisors who also offer on an ongoing basis workshops, presentations, and trainings on different topics, including digital resources like website design, email marketing campaigns, how to use QuickBooks, all of these helpful tools. The other two to mention, which were mentioned briefly, Jennifer Ness mentioned the VBOC, we call it VBOC, which is Veterans Business Outreach Center, a similar resource center with training, workshops, one-on-one assistance, primarily for folks who are retired or out of service from the military and their spouses. They won't say no to other entrepreneurs, but they have a lot of resources that are specific to people transitioning from military service into the small business world. And lastly, I want to mention the women's business centers. There are 3 women's business centers in the state of Washington. In Seattle, there's one which is called the Washington Women's Business Center, hosted by Business Impact Northwest. Services are available online, virtually. And similarly, we mentioned this earlier, this is not exclusive to women business owners or women entrepreneurs. They certainly specialize and want to offer resources to include and support all women entrepreneurs, but they don't say no to anybody. You can be from anybody, from anywhere, and access, again, free one-on-one coaching, workshops, trainings, anything from starting a business to seeking funding or business growth strategies. So I see Jay posting links, thank you, Jay, to all 4 of those resource partners. And those are really great resources to explore. And if you have any questions about them or you want to talk about them individually, feel free to get in touch with me and I'd be happy to go over them with you and steer you in the right direction again.
Thank you so much, Neil. Back to you, Andrew. What are some other opportunities, some other workshops or classes that can help with when it comes to equity and marketing and promotions?
Well, just to acknowledge what David was saying, those are some great organizations for Sbdc. I've used them myself. So those are some of them. Others are the classes that are presented at Seattle Library. For example, in November, I'll be putting on 3 classes which are aimed around similar things, which are creating your own business plan, creating your own website, creating your own cash flow projections, which is just a financial document for your business. And all of these are using Google platforms. So just like Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Sites, which are all free to use. So those are classes that I present, but the library presents a class, I might be exaggerating, but pretty much a class a day. And now that it's virtual, you have so many opportunities through the library, so many opportunities through SBA and what Sbdc does. So I know that there's a lot of opportunities out there, not just what I'm providing, but through the Seattle Library and through these other organizations we've talked about.
Thank you so much. So there is, what I heard you, the 3 of you say, is there are a plethora of resources and there are a myriad of different classes, especially ones that are equitable, that allow you to sit in the comfort of your own home and log on. There are also opportunities that are coming up for more in person, if that's what you desire. I know that we did a survey after the Black Business Leadership Conference, and a lot of folks were like, yes, we're finally back in person. And some people were like, do more. And then some people were like, yeah, no, I'm done with that. Like, I just want to be in my house. And so we got to respect everybody where they are, as far as, whatever their preferences are. And so that, again, is equitable, right? Being able to show up for people where they feel most comfortable. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Jay, is what business skill development learning events does the library have coming up? I know you posted some things in the chat, and I know that Andrew spoke about some that he's doing specifically for the library. And I know there's a resource, right, or a webpage that folks can go to. But are there any that you want to highlight or speak to directly or specifically?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to, in the context of our topic today around digital marketing and equity in digital marketing, a couple of skill development classes we have coming up are one on building a website, one on how to select social media, like how to think about social media. I mean, that's a question that comes up over and over, which is, like, should I be on all the channels? Like, which channels should I be on? Like, and it kind of reflects back to, like, well, where are the people you're trying to reach? And how those kind of things. So we're gonna think about those. We're gonna talk. We have a whole class on strategic, how to build a marketing strategy and think about that strategy. Michael Coffey is our presenter for those. He's also a high school teacher. So today he would be here, but he's teaching high school today. So I'm here to like represent and talk about those workshops. But Andrew already kind of talked about the ones that he and I are going to do together. I'm super excited about those and like where those go. We have some on other topics like, taxes and like personal credit. We have some credit consults where you can meet with Tiara Bonds, who I think is here today, and she'll help you with those kind of credit cleanup things. Just lots and lots of stuff that's happening from now until December. So check out that calendar, and you can. I'm adding to that too for November as well. So. Yeah.
I love that. So what I hear you're saying, and what I know that you're doing, Jay, is you have your ear to the community. Whatever the community is saying, hey, we need a little bit more support in this area or this area. You all are listening to that and providing it, which I think is beautiful, because we are not providing things that the community has not said that they needed or that we feel that they need. But the community is saying, here's an area where I'm struggling. Here's an area where I need additional support. And you're saying, oh, let's connect the dots, because you have an amazing network. Jay, if you want to know anybody, all you got to do is ask Jay. Like, Jay, who is the person that's going to do this or that? And everybody's connected to Jay Lyman. I mean, that's what I learned when I first moved here. So because you have such a huge network of folks, you're able to say, oh, you say you want credit help? Okay, let me get some classes with Tiara. Oh, you say you want marketing assistance? Okay, let me get some classes with Andrew. I think that's the beautiful thing that Seattle Public Library is doing that not a lot of libraries are doing in the business, for the business sector. But I also want to recognize, and hopefully I'm going slow enough, and Idris and Linda, please let me know, because I just want to be mindful of the interpretation that's going on live, real time, and making sure that I'm not speaking too quickly. But if you have questions, please add those into the chat. I do see one question. Before I go to that question, I do want to say that this month is Hispanic Heritage Month. And so as we're thinking about equity, as we're thinking about being inclusive, we got to honor and support those different opportunities to do so, okay? So the question in the chat is, when talking about small business, what constitutes a small business? I ask because we work with a number of individuals who, for a lack of better terms, operate a small business, individuals who purchase tables and booths at various trade shows and cultural gatherings and et cetera, as well as formerly incarcerated who are looking to use their ability to create culturally inspired art as a way to build financial stability. So let me say this. The definition of small business varies per industry. And I'm sure Neil will speak to this if he had a chance, but I'm just going to speak to it because we only have a little bit of time left. But the definition of small actually varies depending on the industry of the business. So if it is a construction business that's making $1 million a year, that may be considered small, as opposed to a restaurant that's making. So it really depends, and it varies based on the industry that the business is in. So hopefully that answers your question. When it comes to small being micro, there's a definition around micro, and that's with 2 or fewer or 3 or fewer. And I'm sure Lisa can answer that question. Please answer that in the chat, Lisa, because there are solopreneurs, meaning they're the only person in the business. They can be considered small or large business because it has nothing to do with the number of people who actually run the business. So a solopreneur could be running an amazingly large enterprise, right? So that has to do with the number of people who are running the business. But usually when it comes to small and the category of small, that has to do with revenues. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, we can actually absolutely chat in the breakout rooms. So what we're doing right now is 10:15. So what we're going to do is we are going to transition. I want to thank our panelists, our amazing panelists. We have Jay, we have Neil, and we have Andrew. I want to thank you all for being here and these amazing takeaways that we got from you. So what I'd like to do right now as we transition is to talk about what are some of the takeaways that you got. So if you can use a moment, use the chat, and just talk about what resonated with you. Was it the programs? Was it the organizations that are offering the no-cost business advising? Was it the upcoming classes at the Seattle Public Library? Was it all of the information that Andrew was telling us about equity and making sure that we're having a visual and equitable practice? What was it? So I'll give you an opportunity to do that as we're transitioning.
I love the comment, Jawan Harris. All roads lead back to Jay Lyman. Dida said the tidbits in the chat are a rich source of insight.
You get the energy when you're around me. You said you wanna ride me. We can go so far no one can see.
James said, I didn't know how many resources were out there. Loved Andrew's inclusion of the free apps and ways to bring more tech to more folks.
Am I running around with a demon? Late nights, we got some fun. Start off in the bands, I'm gonna be the
Angela just dropped a knowledge bomb about subscribing to the Bra or Business Resource Open House YouTube channel. Multiple streams are there now. Go back and watch them full of resources.
I did get a direct message from someone who had to leave early. And one of the things she said is, please, 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 please send me the recording. So I do want to say that as a follow-up, Angela will be sending out an email with the recording so folks will be able to listen to the rest if they have to leave. This is the end of our live broadcast, but if you want to join us in the Zoom, John, can you please drop that into the chat? What the link is to join us in the Zoom. What we're going to be doing is breaking out into breakout rooms so we can talk a little bit more about some of the things we've heard and also just to make deeper connections. I do want to spotlight Mari. If she's available to be able to show us how much she's gotten so far. Hey, Mari.
There we go, Mari. Hold on one second. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Right on. Okay. Apologize for the glare here.
Ooh, I like that piece of the pie. That's the niche, huh?
That's your, yeah, that's the riches are in your niches.
I love
Finding
that.
your community there.
Usually we would have Mari with an overhead screen so we could see Mari and her in action. And hopefully that'll work the next time we go later in fourth quarter of 2022.
Yeah. And I really appreciate, Andrew, I also love whiteboards. So I was really struck by you talking about the whiteboard to Miro situation. So I love the highlighting the different ways we can bring the analog into the digital. And I'm really excited to share this with y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mari. I always appreciate looking at your art and just reminiscing on what we've talked about. So thank you so much. Absolutely. I want to also thank our interpreters, both Linda and Iris. I welcome you back into the main room and just want to thank you for your time and your ability to translate and interpret real time. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I do the interpretations for Linda and Iris. If you have your camera on, you can come up here. I've got you, Iris and Linda.
Thank you so much, Iris. Thank you so much, Linda. We really appreciate you every single time. And just the fact that you are doing this real time, I know that has to be a challenge. So thank you so much.
You guys are doing great. I got a lot of information. I'm happy to deliver that information to my community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And then you're taking it way further, right? You're like, oh, this is not the end. My interpretation doesn't stop here. So thank you for that, Linda. Really appreciate it. All right, so we are transitioning. We're going to go into our breakout rooms, and I'm going to turn it over to John because he's going to give us some direction for the breakout rooms.
Excellent. Most of all, please do us a favor. And somebody said that in the chat. They want to say thank you to you, Jenna Finesse, for being an amazing virtual MC. Everyone go to the chat right now and say thank you so much to the amazing Jenna Finesse. For those who are on the live stream, we did put in the chat in the YouTube there how to get into the Zoom if you'd like to join us, where you can go into breakout rooms, choose which speaker you would like to talk to today, and get additional information, get your questions answered today. So with that, Jenna Finesse, do me a favor and say goodbye to our live stream audience.
Okay, you want me to sing it? How you want me to say it? Because you know I
do you, Jenna Finesse. That's all I could ever ask you to do.
And now it's time to say goodbye, because you're not in the Zoom room. No. Come in the Zoom if you want to stay here and go to a breakout room with us. Otherwise, we will see you fourth quarter for the next Business Resource Open House. All right. Have a super awesome day.
And one last shout out to our good friend Jamison Lyman for rocking these two.